We are grateful to these Indigenous groups at the NWT for allowing us the opportunity to learn, work, and live on their lands. We are also deeply grateful for the generous sharing of traditional knowledge, wisdom, and ways of life and doing with the residents of our town. We commit to honoring paths towards self-determination. Before I go any further, I have sent out an email to all council regarding a moment of silence. I received 2 responses. Does anybody object? Okay, I'm requesting a council observe a moment of silence to acknowledge the passing of Queen Elizabeth II last Thursday. I do not pretend that Queen Elizabeth was perfect and faultless, but do acknowledge that she was a great and humble person during her lifetime. Would we have a moment of silence? Thank you. First item of business, the adoption of the agenda. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Merrill and Councillor Gowans. Any discussion, additions? We do have, I guess, 2 additions. 4.2, the RCMP report, and 10.5, economic development and tourism report. All those in favor? Carried. Declaration of conflict of interest or pecuniary interest. Anyone? Seeing none. Item 4, delegations, presentations, and petitions. 4.1, with Mr. Jerry Petrin, building for homeless on town land.
RCMP first.
I had you first. 4.1.
Mike, whatever you want.
Mr. Petrin,
Fourth, the idea.
would you like to sit up at the table and turn the mic on? You're reminded presentations are limited to 10 minutes.
Hello.
On the button on the side.
No power's not on.
One more on the big blue button.
You have to press while you're talking?
Nope,
Yeah,
there
yeah,
you go.
It's just on now.
No, come on. I brought forth the idea to Rick Campbell, first of all, with regards to an outdoor warming shelter for the homeless this spring. And the initial verbal conversation with Rick was well received. And he himself even said that it was something that he had thought he was going to do himself as well down the line. So we went forth as much as and suggested a spot by the river that he thought would be appropriate, and in the discussion mentioned that the town of Inuvik would provide a pad measuring 20 by 30 approximately for a structure, but have no money to build a structure, and we would have to provide a structure. So he said he liked engineered drawings. I spent a great deal of time looking for different manufacturers of metal buildings and found one, supplied the set of drawings to Grant Hood and to the NWT Disability Council as well. A small structure. Initially it was 16 by 20, and I reduced the size to 12 by 16 for cost reduction purposes. And so the more I went along with the idea, the more the more I was faced up with different blockades here and there. So the idea seemed to take a big step downhill fairly rapidly just in the past month or so. Rick Campbell asked me to set up a meeting with Grant Hood, which I did, and Rick never showed. It kind of set me back. The NWT Disability Council mentioned to me verbally they would provide $15,000 in funding. This building cost $27,000, landed in Inuvik, a metal structure. I would find a means of putting it together. And so after talking recently with Grant Hood, I don't know, I get sort of a spirit in the conversations that nobody's supporting me anymore. The NWT Disability Council reduced their cost sharing from 15,000 down to 10,000 just a week ago. And at this point in time right now, I just want to see what town council's ideas are, if they favor the idea, if they don't favor the idea. What we have here is, I just noted a couple things for consideration. The privileged, meaning people that have homes, people that are able mentally to fend for themselves and work and provide for themselves. They have a bus stop shelter built for them. They have parks built for them. They have mezzanines where they work built for them. The homeless who have nothing and have a, basically they're stuck in space and time, and most of the time they don't know how to get themselves out of the situation, have nothing. So they rely on handouts from people and whatever they can rely on. I'm suggesting build a shelter for them, a place where they're going to, whatever they're going to do, they're going to do it anyway. But at least instead of freezing cold temperatures in the middle of winter, instead of them most of the time being kicked out of most of the buildings in town, they don't want people hanging around there. They stand outside, and I witness this all the time, is to build a shelter. And at least the idea and principle can remain with town council and hopefully have some forward momentum in approving it. Like I say, the privileged have places to go, the unprivileged don't. And likewise, like, you know, I'm not putting the homeless down in any way, shape, or form. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to build them up. But people that have addictions, they build injection sites. Now, I thought that was kind of ludicrous when I heard about that many years ago. But it's a way to help people that don't know how to get out of a stuck position as well. I'm not creating a place for people to go drink. I'm not creating an idea for people to go hang out for the purpose of causing trouble. I'm creating an idea basically for the purposes of helping the homeless people who have no place to go when they choose to drink or when they choose to be together instead of inside of a warming shelter where they're only allowed to stand for certain periods of times. They end up outside. And if they had a place that they could go to and be together and stay warm, I think that's a help for the underprivileged and the people that can help themselves mentally. So that's where I'm at, and that's what I'm proposing, the idea and principle. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Petron. Council, do you have any questions? I do have a few. Who's going to be responsible for the ongoing maintenance of the structure, Jerry?
I talked to Denise McKee, the executive director and NWT Disability Council, and it would be the responsibility of the town of Inuvik, like all the other parks are in town and every other site that's built for the privileged. The underprivileged should have the same privilege as the privileged, as far as I'm concerned. The ones that can't help themselves should be helped in a likewise manner.
Okay. My next question, you're building in an area that floods annually. Have you given any thought to that?
Absolutely. The metal structure can't float, won't float, and the proposed site that we picked out along the river shore is inland quite a ways, where in my, I left Inuvik for a few years, but in my plus 50 years of being here, I've never seen ice in that area, or, I mean, it'll flood, the water will get in there, but it won't harm the building. In the Inuvik water treatment plant was flooded up this spring. It doesn't harm the building won't float away. The ice can't reach it, so in the springtime, it would just be a matter of probably cleaning it out, pressure washing it, and that would be it. You stick in some cement, a picnic table and a wood stove.
Have you consulted with the RCMP ambulance or fire people on emergency access to the location?
No, I haven't. I'm at the preliminary stage right now where the idea in principle is where I'm at. I did tell Grant Hood, and in the engineer drawings mentioned to the people designing it that there would be an openable, permanent opening in the front of the structure with no door in case of emergency, there's a fire or something happens inside. There's no obstruction stopping them from getting out. That was the only thing that I had mentioned verbally to Grant and to Rick. I haven't gone that far to talk to the RCMP or the fire department or likewise.
Who's going to be responsible for the insurance, both property and liability?
That would be the town of Inuvik again.
Okay, the property is on leased commissioner's land. It's not the town of Inuvik's land. So it might not be allowed under the lease that we have with the lands department. We are talking with them on Thursday in Illinois. But at the present time, we're not even sure if the structure would be allowed. We'll take your information with us and take it from there. Thank you for your presentation, Deputy Mayor Kulikowski.
Thank you for the presentation, Jerry. Just a couple clarifications. Just in your initial description, you talked more about like a building that might be heated and things, but this isn't. This would be more almost like just a shed, but somewhere to get out of the elements themselves, and with a wood stove, like you
With a wood
say.
stove
This
and
isn't.
and a cement picnic table.
Okay,
That's the only two things in there, permanently fixed, so that they're permanently fixed to
Right.
the ground, right?
and that gives a spot, for example, in the summer to get out of the heat of the sun, in the winter to get out of the wind,
The
those
elements,
types
yeah.
of things. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Devlin.
Thank you, Mr. Petron, for your presentation. I just want to sort of clarify the ask here, at least the initial ask. I realize that we're still in some planning stages. You talked about the cost of the building at 27, and initially you received 15, again to 10 now. Is there a cash ask for the town to cover this deficit, or are you looking for other funding options, sponsors, et cetera?
Well, there's always an ask in place, but as well, I mentioned to Denise McKee at the Inuvik Disability Council that I wish I had more time to put together a funding program here in Inuvik for the homeless or something like that, but there's not enough hours in the day right now. If I can come up with some other ideas in the near future or maybe have some help at this point in time, that's the only amount of funding that I've verbally secured so far.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Deputy Mayor.
I just, not really a question, I guess. I understand the idea. I want to say that. And I understand, like, from conversations that I've had or have heard from folks who are out there, like, it's not fun to be stuck outside at 36 degrees and you can't really get any shade anywhere. So I 100% understand. I just, I can see where, like, obviously you and Rick have had some conversations already, you and Grant have had some conversations. I feel like this, if something like this was to come together, I think it's going to have to be almost like a committee of some sort that comes together in the community to do it. Only because, like you say, the funding structure and getting the money together to actually build the thing, right? I guess, and having an understanding of what the buy-in is from the folks who would use it, like in terms of, respecting the space that you use? Is it just a free for all? Do you leave it as a mess all the time? You know, like how do those conversations happen, and to make sure that, you know, it's not just lipstick on the pig per se, like where we're just doing something, throwing it out there, and then we just watch it get destroyed slowly by not just those folks, anybody in town who might be vandals or anything like that, right? So I just, I feel like it's an idea that's there and could make some sense, but it has a lot more ruminating to do before I'd be prepared to make a decision on it or to spend town dollars on it at this time. But I really appreciate you bringing the idea forward.
Just quickly, just under responding to that,
Sure.
you can look forward ahead and talk about all the if, ands, and buts.
Mhm.
And then if that gets forward momentum, it ends up not happening. If you build a church, the people will come. If you build something like this, which is a helpful for people that are stuck, is it gonna take in some vandalism? Probably. Is it open to the public? It's gotta be open to the public. Are the public gonna vandalize it? Probably. So there's all these ifs, ands, and buts, but the idea and principle is to push forward the idea without having to have any of these ifs, ands, and buts take momentum ahead of the whole thing, because the idea and principle is to help and to not let these other things come into play, as far as I'm concerned.
I just want to point out, Mr. Veteran, both the Warming Center and the homeless shelter are open 24 hours a day during the winter. Homeless center, the building is provided by the town of Inuvik, so yes, we do a lot for the homeless here. Housing NWT funds both shelters. So we really can't sit here and say the town does nothing for the homeless, because I think we do quite a lot. Warming Center accepts people who are inebriated. They're allowed in as long as they behave themselves. The only people that have been banned, I understand, are ones who wouldn't behave themselves. So that's my sum up on the whole thing. I do commend you on your initiative. I know you put a lot of thought into this. I know you care for this group of people, as we all do. So anyway, thank you for coming.
Councilor.
Councillor Gallons has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Veteran, for the presentation. And I think from my perspective, I'm looking at what's available for the group we're talking about. And I'm having a tough time in my own mind saying, let's add something else that's already there that can support them on the cost of the town. I also worry about the fact it's down by the river. I worry about the fact you've got people using drugs and alcohol in their water. What happens if someone goes into the water or drowns? What happens then? I also worry about maintenance and vandalism and the cost that town's on the hook for. I worry about insurance. So you'd mentioned privileged and underprivileged, and to a certain extent, you're right. But I also think about accountability and non-accountability. And at what point in time do we hold people accountable for their choices as adults? And that's what I'm struggling with, is you can give them a free space that they can do what they want. They can do to it what they want. And I'm not seeing them alone. I realize there's vandalism in the town besides that group of people. We had a brand new space, the visitor center, brand new, and it was vandalized. And that was actually monitored. There was cameras, I believe, in the center that actually looked at what happened. This is an empty, a building that has no monitoring on it whatsoever. So from that sense, and I'm open to hearing more about it and what you have in mind, but I do have my concerns about a building that is not going to be secured in any way, shape, or form down by the river where drugs and alcohol are involved.
They're down there right now.
No, I understand that, but they're there on their own accord. And we're not providing a building for them to go in and do it and then go somewhere else and need to go into the water. Especially when we're talking about insurance and liability. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for coming, Mr. Veteran. On to item 4.2, the RCMP report. Welcome to council.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'll start out by introducing myself. Sergeant Aaron Semler. Today's my first day here.
Welcome.
And, up until probably a couple hours ago, I didn't even know I was going to be speaking here tonight. These are my disclaimers, by the way, and I did not compile this report. So I'm going to read it for you, just as Chris Main instructed me. And if he had led me astray, let me know. Before that, I'll just let you know who I am, where I'm from. I've got 16 years service with the RCMP, and previous to this, I was in Fort Good Hope for 2 years, the commander there, and previous to that, a couple of posts down south in BC and Alberta, and I come to Inuvik with my wife, a dog and 2 cats. Left the kids down. We ran away from the kids as soon as they were old enough for university, so we figured we'd go on a whirlwind adventure up here in the north. So that's how I ended up here. So just going through this, the notable occurrences for the month of August. It says near the end of July, an alleged robbery occurred at the local apartment building. During this event, persons forcibly entered an occupied residence, stealing property prior to fleeing. Police were able to identify 3 individuals involved, and each has been arrested and charged with robbery, among other criminal code offenses. All matters are now before the courts, with the first appearance date of the 13th of September. Regrettably, on August 11th, another robbery is alleged to have occurred at a local residence. In this event, the victims received non-life-threatening injuries and were treated by medical personnel. Subsequently, 2 individuals were arrested and charged with robbery with a weapon and other criminal code offenses. In both of these events, CCTV was able to be accessed and secured by the police, which not only proved efficient in identifying those responsible. Having this form of evidence will greatly enhance the prosecution of those responsible for these violent acts, and which have no place in our communities. So those quite notable offenses or occurrences. On the next page we have, I won't go through all of this, but the only real big jumps, it looks like actually Liquor Act files are down from August of last summer, and impaired driving files are down considerably. In fact, the total calls for service are about 60 less than last summer, so that's a good indication. Just going through the APP initiatives here, family violence, specific domestic and elder abuse. During the month of August, the Inuvik RCMP responded to 51 complaints of violence against persons, including 7 reports involving intimate partner violence. We continue to work closely with our community partners to ensure victims of crime receive appropriate supports, and that through our combined efforts, violent occurrences are reduced. Corporal Chris Main and Staff Sergeant Bruce McGregor participated in a restorative justice conference, which shed some light on innovative approaches to service delivery. For example, broadening the scope of those offenders who can be accepted to diversion and setting benchmarks for referral numbers. Road safety, impaired driving. During the month of August, the Inuvik RCMP responded to 10 complaints of impaired driving, 4 of which were cleared by criminal code charge. This represents an impressive clearance by charge rate, and I'm pleased the additional impaired driving training provided to officers in July has proved to be effective. Members have been visible during the first week of school, providing awareness relating to traffic flow patterns, primarily the making of left turns into and out of the gray gnat entrance. Members will continue to work alongside municipal enforcement to increase safety within the school zone. Corporal Chris Main has received certification in the calibration of roadside screening devices, which is specific to alcohol, and this will allow for assured availability of these important devices. And the third one, community and cultural awareness, including youth. Members have been getting out and conducting bike patrols throughout August, even taking the chance to get in some half-court basketball at the school, and on another occasion playing some baseball. One of the primary goals of this program is to make police more visible and accessible, and appears those objectives are being met. Members made numerous visits to the Fiddle and Flow Festival, introducing themselves to participants and taking in some Delta talent. Foot patrols will continue to take place throughout September, and despite having 2 of 3 qualified operators out of town over August, the vote made some patrols up and down the East Branch. Corporal Grisman has reached out to the breakfast program coordinator with the intent of assisting with meal prep and classroom delivery on Friday mornings. Further, with the lifting of restrictions, it is hoped the police will be able to host many in-person visits and presentations throughout this first school reporting period. Corporal Main has already made plans to begin having an officer attend weekly to read books to the primary grades. That, in a nutshell, is the policing report.
Thank you for the report. Does council have any questions? Councilor Merrill.
The question everybody has, are you related to the local assemblers?
Yes, so Slim and Agnes were my grandparents.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Well, welcome back to the Delta.
Well,
Even
my
if you
dad
haven't been
grew up here and he passed recently, so
Oh, that's wonderful to have you here then. You'll meet
Yeah.
lots of relatives later.
I'm sure it will.
Maybe too many.
Yeah, probably.
Any other questions? I'd like to thank you for the report. It's good to see the foot patrols out. And I just want to thank Corporal Main in particular for his involvement. He seems to be involved in a little bit of everything. So it's good to see the members out with the public.
Well, Corporal Main actually wrote it, right? So.
But
I do agree with you.
That's why it sounds so good.
There seems to be a group of people out in the middle of the night lately throwing rocks through windows. Tenant on Bonapum Road, I believe in public housing, had a rock thrown through their window the night before last. If the person sitting at the table hadn't been moved about 10 seconds earlier, they would have got hit in the head with a rock. So if any of your members are out patrolling at night, keep an eye on young people in particular.
Absolutely, I'll make note of that for sure.
I don't know if they reported it or not, but
Okay, I'll look into it.
thank you. Thanks for the report.
Thank you. Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you.
Item 5, public question period. Item 6, adoption of the minutes of the August 8th and 10th, 2022 council meeting. We need a mover and a second. Gowans and Merrill. Any discussion, any corrections? All in favor? Motion's carried. 7.1 action items list. Any questions? Deputy Mayor Kulikowski.
Just on item 3, have we heard anything from the DEA regarding the gyms?
I have, no,
Deputy Mayor Kulikowski.
A general question, I guess, I want you to ask this too, but like, are the kids in gym class? Like, are things,
Sorry.
they are, okay, the kids are back in the gym, okay. So hopefully that means that we'll see something soon from the DEA then.
Yeah. Thank you. Councilor Devlin.
I just a question about item 5 by-election. I know I recommend a referred one nominee nomination, but I'm just wondering, have we received nominations?
we have received some nominations, yes.
Any other questions? New business, item 8.1, community beautification contest winners. Lise, I believe this one is yours.
I don't have it with me.
I'll give you all the glory.
I did nothing but drive. Yeah, it was Steve Crew and Mayor Wood went out and judged all the different entries that we had. We had a total of 12 entries. And I believe you have in front of you the recommendation that the winners that were chosen on based on points of different categories for I'm trying to be, I'm at a loss. But anyways, they have the judges had sheets with different categories in which to judge, and they awarded 5 points for up to 5 points for each area, and then the points were totaled, and the people that you have down in front of you are the winners for this year's contest.
Actually, Snowna, thank you for driving us around, and Mr. Krug also for helping. It's much appreciated. So the motion is that Inuvik Town Council hereby awards the winners of the Town of Inuvik Community Beautification Contest as follows. Winner's Circle Commercial Organization, $325 to Alice Deans. First place Commercial Organization, $325 to Little Canadian Legion. Second place Commercial Organization, not applicable. Third place, not applicable because there was only one entry. Winner's Circle Residential, $325 to Kelsey McDonald. First place Residential, Margaret and Andrew McInnes for $325. Second place Residential, $225 to Karen Lang. Third place Residential, $125 to Fred and Deanna Bailey. Mover and a seconder, Deputy Mayor Kulikowski and Councillor Devlin. Any questions, comments? I do want to thank everybody that did take part. Quite interesting that a tenant in Inuvik Apartments was actually in the contest and got second place for residential. He did out near the parking lot, did quite a nice display of flowers and so on there. So I think that one was extra special. Anyway, all those in favor? Motion's carried. 10.1, Director of Public Works report. See, Director Campbell's not here, but if you have any questions, I'm sure SAO would be more than happy to answer. Any questions? Councillor Merrill.
I just want to thank him for fixing the hole on the road by the bridge, by the library that I've been afraid I was going to fall through for years. So thank you very much. It looks lovely.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, we'll move the reports in one block. Everybody agrees with that. I don't see anybody against it. So 10.2, the finance report. Any questions? Seeing none. 10.3, community services report. Any questions? Ten point four, capital projects report. 10.5, economic development and tourism report. Any questions? I need a mover and seconder for the reports. Councilor Merrill, Councilor Gallants. All those in favor? Motion's carried. 11.1, strategic priorities chart. Any questions? Council concerns, item 12. Any concerns there, Councilor Harder?
I've had some response about the 2023 as and when contracts for the town, and why they haven't been posted this year, and also why the website hasn't been updated.
We are working on it. It's just again with the staffing changes and that, trying to get them out. They will be out shortly. Also the website, same thing, just it's been a struggle the last couple of months, and but they should be out soon.
Any other concerns, Councilor Devlin?
Yeah, I'm just hoping that we can start getting into some committee work now that we're back into September, summer's over. I know that on our strategic priorities chart, we have abandoned and set the property in September. We also have cold weather testing in September as well. So I just, some of these can be pushed a little bit through committee work. So I'm just hoping that we could start scheduling some of our subcommittee meetings. Thank you.
Councilor Merrill.
Just wanted to say how good the outside of the building looks, but I'm very impressed with the ramps. the entrance now on both doors in the front. People who are mobility, have mobility issues can actually get into both sides of the building. It looks great. It looks much safer.
Thank you. I have received a lot of positive comments on the building the way it looks now. I won't comment on what I said it looked like before, but it looks great. Deputy Mayor.
Just, there was a CBC article last week, I think it was, about the Butchin pulling their support of the dumpster fiber line, and I'm just curious if the town's had any communication from Northwest Town about that potential. Oh, sorry, China.
We have not heard anything.
Okay. And then just a second question, if I can quickly, just, I'm assuming that where the mayor is currently parked will actually be one spot over, so that the closest spot will be for the wheelchair ramp. That'll, signage is coming and all of that is gonna get done.
Those are the final few things, and
Okay.
yes, we had discussed it with the Director of Public Works that we are going to flip them over.
Okay, thank you very much.
Where we have to be careful on is so that the access, somebody in a wheelchair, if they're getting out of the van on the side, so we have to kind of make sure from the spacing goes.
Councillor Devlin.
Yeah, it's not really a concern. I just wanted to say kudos to Director Chalice and her team for the Fiddle and Flow Festival and the Fall Fair this weekend. The pavilion has been rocking for the last 2-3 weeks, all summer long, but really over the last 2-3 weeks. I just wanted to make note of that and to say kudos.
Thank you, Director Chalice. Thank you, Councillor Devlin. Any other concerns? Okay, we do have an in-camera item tonight, so I need a motion to go in camera.
So, okay,